What's up, guys? It is well, I won't give the day of the week, but it's now October. It's been a while since I've made a video. I wanted to bring up to date, I guess, some things. As you could probably tell, for those who pay attention to my videos, the background is slightly different. The wall that's behind me was the one that was in front of me before, the way my computer was set up, and the wall that I'm staring at was the one that you guys were looking at when I made my videos or did a podcast interview, or whatever it might be. So I needed to make things a little bit more feng shui, if you will, to sound all cultured. So what I did is I actually built a new computer desk, set myself up to look a little bit more presentable behind me. As you can see, I've got parts of my life that are obvious, the fireside and family and stuff. But then I have some on my other side that a lot of people maybe didn't see, which is my inner geek. Big sci-fi guy. Terminator 2 is my favorite all-time movie. Love Terminator stuff. I even got some He-Man figures up there, fire trucks, a couple of toys. I got my fire helmet. I just who I am is up there, and then I'm of course littered in front of me with all the rest of my life. Other pictures of my kids and family. I got a picture of my wife right over here, so I can always see it. So a new setup, and a lot of reason for that is one of the announcements is we are starting to get ready to launch the podcast through First Responder Coaching. It will not be, just a coaching specific podcast where all we sit there and do is talk about coaching. But one of the big reasons why we want to run it is we want to help educate first responders and their families on what maybe coaching is. But one of the biggest topics we're going to always sort of try to focus on is wellness, resiliency. When we bring people on and we have discussions, it's not always going to be necessarily doom and gloom. The whole overall message we want to have in each episode is just hopefully end on a good note, right? It's one of the things I've learned when, going through conferences and presenting more and more is that overall we want to convey a happier ending, the how did I get here? What did I do to get here? How do I continue to do better kind of thing? So resiliency and wellness would be sort of the overall topic, but obviously there'll probably be war stories and there'll probably be some, at least in the bucket heads around there'll be some, tailboard riding stories and, the old leather boot shit. But, the overall will be, wellness and resiliency. And we'll probably, what our plan is right now is to hopefully do some live coaching sessions. So those of you who don't know what coaching is can experience it. So then you can come and, get and reap benefits of what it is after seeing some of it. And so originally I was hoping to go live this week. Unfortunately, life happens. Life happens. And I am no stranger to that. Most of you know that. I am no stranger to that. Unfortunately, things got busy and now we're at Thursday. And as some of you may or may not know, my wife's having like moderate surgery tomorrow. So she's going to be laid up for a little bit, but that kind of puts a hex on getting things out the door for this week. So, and then I'm hopeful to get someone on and record an episode next week, but then the end of next week, we're actually leaving for North Carolina for a family wedding. And then off kicks the fall, and I got 3 conferences in like 2.5 weeks. So I don't know how many we're going to get to. I'm new at recording podcasts and making podcasts, and shout out to my buddy Eric, Two Cops One Doing It. I'll be reaching out to you to get some advice on this stuff. We have very basic, software right now and very basic equipment to sort of get us going until we get a feel for this and really see what direction we want to go and how often we want to do it and how big we want to make it. And that's really up to you folks. How often you interact, watch it, download it, however we end up doing it. I don't know what we're going to do right now. Right now, we're going to be putting them up on social media, YouTube, both the FRC channel and mine. The episodes will be up there as they get recorded and edited. But, on the topic of, big things, there are several things happening, several things in the works. Regarding conferences, some are local for my New England folks. October 20th, which is apparently to capacity. There's the conference I'm speaking at down with the Mass DOC with Forge VFR. That's down in Milford, Mass. I get the list, and it's a pretty impressive list of attendees. We get everyone from Boston EMS, Boston Police, out to Yonkers, New York, NYPD, FBI, Mass State Police, Sheriff's Office, obviously, tons of cops. Plattsburgh, New York is going to be there. some SISM teams, a bunch of treatment centers, some clinicians, Clear Path New England. Looking forward to seeing Leanne again there. Shout out to her. And then, like Connecticut stuff, lots of stuff, about 100 people. I think I didn't count. A lot of stuff. I'm one of 4 or 5 presenters, 4, I think. Clear Path is the, giving some of one of their people, Dr. Lars, who some of you may know, Brian Harkins, and I actually, along with Sue, met him down in Devon's at their facility down there. He's presenting on some of the treatments he's doing, which is revolutionary in the world of veterans. They're right now, they're only concentrating on veterans, but interesting to see his presentation. I'm actually presenting last that day, which I'm cool with. I was keynote at this last one, spoke first in Boston. So then after that, I'm going out to San Antonio, and I believe it's being put on by District 7. And I forget the rest of the organization and whatnot, but it's another, resiliency and wellness resource sort of conference out in San Antonio. That is the 31st through the 2nd. Unfortunately, because of flights and different things that have happened, running out of time in the day, we weren't able to get a flight out on the day that I speak. So I'm actually leaving on Thursday, the 3rd. And as many of you know, I fly back, and then that Friday is our conference, the First Responder Coaching and New Hampshire Fire Academy Conference on the 4th, which, I've orchestrated with those at the Academy and those at First Responder Coaching to be a reality. And so I'm basically flying in, landing in Logan Thursday afternoon, and going to be up there pretty early to help set up and get things rolling for that. So it'll be a busy couple weeks, folks. So a lot of you do reach out to me, and I will pardon myself right now if I don't get as many Facebook posts up, or I'm hopeful to do some Facebook lives here and there. Those tend to be a little easier, or some quick videos here and there. But it's busy between the family wedding, Adele having some surgery, having a kid, life, everything else goes on, everything else that I was already doing, be it the book. I got asked to submit a chapter for another book, a national best-selling series that I'll be doing, the article I'm doing. Like, there's a lot, 3 documentaries now, resource videos. Like, there's a lot going on. So I'm trying to stay on top of it, but unfortunately I set myself up for a busy couple weeks here, starting pretty much next week. But I love it. It's all good stuff. It's all good stuff, folks. I couldn't imagine a better reason to be this busy. And like my other video the other day when I was in my truck, it does get overwhelming. And the last week or so, I've been doing a lot better with, self-checking and being like, okay, where you at, Hanks? You got a lot going on, and it's all accomplishable. It can all be done. But you got to pace yourself, and you got to have a routine. You got to, set limits and boundaries. And so that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been trying to practice in order to keep myself on schedule for, deadlines and different things that have happened. And then obviously to prepare for each of these presentations. So for those that don't know how some of these work, some conferences are very much like, hey, we want you to get up there, tell your story, a little bit of what worked for you and whatnot, and cool, here's an hour. Some are like, hey, well, we just want you to come in and, get up on the stage and talk about being better and there's hope. Here's 30 minutes. Others are like 90, some are 75. A lot are like hour to hour and 15. And then there's ones that are really, they want you to push the resource. And I'm cool with all that. I just want people to get help. I just want people to know that you're not alone, and it's okay to not be okay as long as you're not going to stay there. We don't need to stay not being okay, but it's okay to not be that initially, So, I just try to break down that stigma in any way I can do that, whether it's talking about resources. I'm always able to tie my story in because of all the different resources I use. And obviously the coaching is the most prominent one right now, just because of how much in recent times it has helped me. And a lot of what I do these days is thanks to the perspective changes and the goal setting that I learned through coaching, and just the accountability that I've been held to get certain tasks done. And now I just hold myself accountable for it. It's a learning process, and it becomes a good habit. And so, obviously that's one of the biggest ones, because I'm the director of promotions. Obviously, a lot of times that's why I get brought out to these conferences to speak, or on podcasts even, is because of that resource. So looking forward to all of these conferences that are coming up. I am putting together a guest list for our podcast that I will be running. Again, just bear with me. I know Brett Snow, my brother out in, well, now he's in Florida, but he was a Chicago squad guy. Another shout out to him. He did express interest, and about a dozen other of you have. It's I'm a fast learner, but technology tends to slow me down a little bit. So bear with me. I'm going to have as many people on as I can. As long as you want to talk about wellness and resiliency, I'll have you on to some degree. As long as it somehow focuses about that, and it's not just look at my mustache, I look like Mario, check out my bird helmet. As long as it's not just that stuff, we could talk about whatever you want. As long as we tie it in the resiliency, I'll have everyone on that I can fit. It's just gonna be a matter of recording, honestly. And those that have had me on your podcast, if you want to come on mine, cool. A lot of you have been awesome hosts, and I've had a lot of fun. Again, Tom Howard been on his twice, Fire Inside, and the Marlon Dean got to be on his twice. Shout out to my brother at 91 What. So some of those are coming out. The Fire Inside one just came out. DeMarlon should be having his out shortly. I did another one with Phil. Stories from the Road. That was a nice change of pace. For a lot of you who watch what I do, a lot of it tends to really be hardcore focused PTSD. And I'm cool with that. I am. That's what I want to do. But this was nice because this was like, hey, let's talk about a call and how it affected you and what it did to your career. And it was almost like debriefing it in a way. You guys will probably really like that episode. I actually talk about the second worst call in my career that I did out in Lawrence, which ended up being a murder. I did it with Brian Moran, my bro up at Hillside Farm in Mason. That's a whole other story. That's a crazy story how we reconnected, but just a crazy shit show of a call. And we talked about it, and then we talked about how like all these things affect first responders and how they end up changing their careers. And it was a great short podcast, 30 minutes. Had a lot of fun with Phil. Phil's a great guy. We talked about everything else I'm doing to try to advocate, and that's what all this is about, folks, is just talking. And I think the biggest thing I like about podcasts, the reason why I agreed to start ours at First Responder Coaching, is I just love talking to people. It's a lost art form. And these days with our wristwatch, which mine's dead, this is how much I care about it. Battery ran out at like 10 o'clock this morning. I still haven't charged it. But everything else you could do today in society with technology, you don't have to have face-to-face discussions. And I'm someone who can't deal well with that, as much as sometimes, like people stress me out, large crowds at least. I still need to have that one-on-one. I still need to have that conversation, that words spoken, that seeing people's, genuine reactions to words that are said. And you don't get that in text, and you sometimes don't get that in phone calls. And even these days, people don't make phone calls. So I think that's what I like best about doing podcasts and doing these presentations is, you see people for who they really are, their general reaction, the genuine and precise reaction to things that are said. And a lot of times with what I'm being asked to talk about, it's not like, what's your favorite way to cook chocolate chip cookies? It's, let's talk about some horrible shit, how you dealt with it, how you almost died, and how you made it through it, and how you're much stronger now. And it tends to really get a powerful reaction. And I tell you, I live for these things. Now that I made so much peace with, my demons, and I live a life of resiliency, and not even really coping, but just like resiliency. I live for the moments where I get to talk to another human being about this stuff to spread the wealth, and educate. So, keep an eye on me. Facebook has been my enemy lately. My post the other day about my progress with the gym went pretty big, but I've been posting like crazy, folks, and like it's not getting in the news feed. And I have some buds that are I wouldn't say they're conspiracy theorists, but they have their own opinions on why these happen. And I sometimes tend to believe them that the Zuck doesn't like first responders, especially cops. So sometimes our stuff gets put lower priority in the news feed. It beats out the algorithm, whatever it is, and it gets frustrating. For those of you who don't who aren't a voice for this. Sometimes it's really discouraging when you know you're going unheard, and it's not because people aren't seeing it, as in it's in the news, or people are seeing it but not interacting is what I mean. It's because they're not seeing it because it's not going in the newsfeed. And I know this because I've done the research and had people like try to find it, and it doesn't show up in the newsfeed until I blow it up with a bunch of stuff and it recycles and it gets put there. But unfortunately, it's sort of lost its point at that juncture. So sometimes it's very discouraging. Not that I need a pat in the ass for what I'm doing, but sometimes getting feedback or, hey, thanks for posting this. Hey, I need this. And a lot of people do reach out to me on the one-to-one, you know, private message or DM or whatever it is, whatever the cool kids are calling it. It's but sometimes, I do sometimes need a little bit more fuel in my motor here to do this. It takes a lot, the social media thing with all the platforms I'm on, different groups I run, moderate, and everything, the videos I try to make. It takes a lot. It's a part-time job in the very least, and sometimes not getting interaction on it or having social media kibosh it, it pisses you off. I'll be honest, it pisses you off. And so don't lose hope, folks. I am putting stuff out there. I haven't stopped. It's just sometimes working against the machine, and but I won't stop. I haven't stopped yet. I've always been up against adversaries and I usually have won. So I'll just keep plowing away at it and just look for it, or go to my actual pages, or whatever they are on whatever platforms, and look for them there, and obviously the YouTube channel and stuff like that. But get excited, folks. I'm hoping to make this podcast real enjoyable. Again, I don't know how big we'll make it. I don't know all the conversations we're going to have, but I know they're going to be a lot of fun. They're going to help a lot of people. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. It may start with just audio. I have the capabilities of editing video. It just depends on how well I get tutored on how to do all this by my bros out there who are already doing podcasts, and even a few of the ladies who have interviewed me. I may lean on some of you out there to help me do this, but I'd love to have both. I'd love to be able to have the capabilities doing both. Sometimes, depending on what streaming app you go to put your podcast on, sometimes you can only do audio. Others allow you to do both. But either way, being able to have both for at least social media and YouTube is very powerful and a very useful tool. So that's what I got for now. I don't think I'm going to be on for a few days here. I got to take care of the wife. She's going to be down the one arm and probably a little uncomfortable with what she's having done. So prayers for her, for those of you who see this. Much love as always. And, it's getting to be that time of year. Holidays creeping up on us. Days are getting shorter. First responders especially. We tend to, go through a little bit of extra stress this time of year. But just hold out, man. Just all of you out there, just keep plugging away, keep doing what you're doing. You're all doing great. I love you all. And I'll see you next video. Be on the lookout for it. Take care, guys. Have a good night.